Oh, certainly. The smoking bans here, as I mentioned, and that's perhaps why Ultra wants a guerrilla type tactics, small bands of smoker activists, is because it's all either local bans or state bans. So that
And you're in Illinois.
Illinois has a state ban, but I rather frequently vacation in Missouri, which does not have a state ban and only local bans. So that it's easily gotten around if you want to get away to go someplace where you can actually smoke.
Yeah, it's like Emily was saying to me. She was going to uh, a casino in I don't know whether it was in Massachusetts. I think it was in New England where she could smoke. I don't know how far away it was from. But Missouri must be quite far from you.
It's about a 3-hour drive as well.
Uh-huh.
Up by Chicago down towards St. Louis.
Yeah.
Just on a big old 6-lane interstate.
Yeah.
But the local bands, I suppose if I was single, so that I went out more, it would be more inconvenient. It's the only real socializing I do is with the wife.
Yeah.
And then if we go out, just okay, it's 6 o'clock. We'll go out for supper. We're home by 7 o'clock. So they're just an hour. It really doesn't cause an inconvenience.
Is that in Illinois or in Missouri?
That's Illinois.
Yeah.
In Missouri, most of the time they'll have smoking section and a non-smoking section. The places that I've been to, the smoking section is up front, and they put the non-smokers back by the kitchen. Apparently, the owners of the places aren't really fond of these fuss-budget non-smokers or anti-smokers. It's amusing.
Uh-huh.
But if I was single and was going out bar hopping, then I think that having to go outside to have a cigarette would be really quite inconvenient. I haven't talked to anyone. Of course, I'm well, crotchety old fart. I don't socialize much with people outside of family.
Yeah. Did you used to before the smoking ban?
Oh, I used to go out 6 nights a week. But that was also, when I was single, I did that. The smoking ban was only 10 years ago,
Yeah.
as it is here in Illinois. But by that time, I had been married for 25 years. And I didn't go out. We don't go out to socialize.
Yeah.
I very seldom go to other people's houses. So the smoking ban really doesn't impact me. What does impact me are the exorbitant prices that they charge for everything.
Yeah.
The sin tax.
Yeah.
Which is why I went to rolling my own cigarettes and avoiding the state excise tax, which is, that's another $1 on a pack of cigarettes here in Illinois, much less the local taxes also.
Yeah.
And the thing that I really object to, there's a double jeopardy, because you not only have to pay $1 extra sin tax, excise tax, that goes on to the price of the bag of the cigarettes, but then there's a 6% sales tax. And that is not on the original price of the cigarettes before the excise taxes. That's on the total cost, including the excise taxes. So you wind up paying a tax on a tax.
Yeah.
And that is double jeopardy.
Yeah.
It seems to me that should be illegal.
So do you have friends round for dinners and things like that?
Mm. The only time we associate with anybody like that is just my mother-in-law and sister.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm a bit of a recluse. I find most people a pain in the ass to talk with these.
Oh, why is that?
Well, they tend to, people in general, excluding you, of course,
Thank you.
think about what is happening to them. They just accept it. It's like I posted on your blog today. There's this past year, the election. Okay. There were approximately 25% of the American adults voted for Clinton. Not 26%. 25% voted more for Trump. But there's almost 50% that didn't vote at all.
Yeah.
They just, oh, whatever happens is going to be,
Yeah, fatalism.
And that's, they don't get interested in looking into stuff. They'll say, well, I smoking is terrible. Well, that's just, it's got to be secondhand smoke is bad or smoking is bad. Well, have you ever looked into it? Have you ever actually done any studies, any of your own, any math? Have you looked at
No.
studies that purport to show secondhand smoke? Yeah, damp weather will do that. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's a slight. Yeah. Well, at least there's somewhere you can go. Do you head off to Missouri quite regularly?
Well, a couple times a year.
And how
I've
long?
got
How long do you stay for?
about a week, 10 days at a time.
Yeah.
There's this resort that we go to that's theoretically has non-smoking cabins, but they put a pack of matches in an ashtray right there on the kitchen table. Well, just, okay.
Yeah.
They're rather high-class resorts, so I guess they have to make the statement of being non-smoking to avoid harassment by all the anti-smokers.
Yeah. Well, that's a little bit of resistance. Do you ever come across any anti-smokers when you're smoking?
No, because most of the time I'm smoking at home,
Yeah.
or if I go to places like the restaurants, well, if it's going to get the establishment, the business in trouble, because I find it really sick that they will fine the smoker if some health person comes in, health department, let's fine the smoker $50. They fine the establishment like $1,000,
Yes.
as though the establishment has to be policing their own customers and aggravate the customers by saying, no, you can't do that.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing here in England. If you're caught smoking in a public place, well, indoors in public, you'll get fined. I think it's £50 or something like that. But if it's in a pub, the pub gets fined £2,000. And they've effectively co-opted all the proprietors as their police force.
Well, they can stand as the proprietors, the public can stand up for it. At the time you get the second or third offense, I believe Nick Hogan had fines that totaled almost 10,000 pounds.
Yeah,
Memory serves me right.
yeah. I helped pay off a little bit of that
Good for you.
because I was one of the people. I think it was Anna Raccoon who got that got an online request for. So yeah, I put in £20 or something like that. Not very much, but it all helps.
Well, it's like anything else. Any show of resistance is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. Small acts of resistance, larger acts if best is better, but here in England, we there isn't anywhere. The smoking ban was right the whole of Great Britain, everywhere. There was nowhere you could go. If you want to smoke somewhere, you have to head off to Europe, and even there, some smoking bans are fairly intensive.
Draconian, I think.
Yeah, draconian. It's most draconian here in England, as far as I can see, or Finland. Finland seems to be worse. Ireland is more or less as bad.
Well, from what Rose posted, it was over in that Finland is the #1 plus bucket
Yeah,
nanny state in the whole of Europe.
yeah. It's also the northernmost state, which is odd. I get the impression in Europe that the smoking bans are more intensive the further north you go, whereas down in places like Greece, they're ineffectual.
Like Kevin says, nobody pays any damn attention to it.
Yeah, I
And I
think people in the north are somehow a bit more law-abiding than they are in the south, where they have a bit of a relaxed attitude to the law.
well, isn't it also true, perhaps, that the politicians in the northern latitudes seem, of course, with the Australians in the south, and I'd imagine they would give Finland a run for their money as far as their being goofy about laws.
Yeah, Australia, I don't know what's happened to Australia. New Zealand seems to be almost as bad.
Yeah, there are parts of Spain, I guess, that are not so. They have smoking bans, but nobody pays any attention.
I don't know about that. The last time I was in Spain was in 2010, just before they were going to intensify or make more draconian their smoking ban. And there wasn't going to be any more smoking in bars and restaurants. So I haven't been back since. I don't really want to go back, to be honest.
I don't have a social life, so I don't care to have one. But I don't put myself in a position where it's going to be bad. I can't talk about the old days because the old days I was single. I was out, a delightful term they have down south, I was out honky-tonking 6 or 7 nights a week, chasing young ladies and trying to do devious things to their physical beings. That was 36 years ago.
So, but that was the South, was it? You lived in the South?
Oh, no, I've lived here for just west of Chicago now since 1969. God, that's what, 48 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's,
Yes, but it's something to talk about because I mean back then presumably lots of people smoked. There were no smoking bans anywhere except in churches.
well, the ventilation systems in churches used to be pretty bad. Churches couldn't afford to put in these big high-back systems. Plus, and other than Islam, I don't think there's a religion that has a outright ban on smoking or drinking.
I don't think Islam has a ban on smoking because when I went, the last time I visited an Islamic country was when I visited Luxor in Egypt, and they had cafes with water pipes, and you could buy some. They owned the water pipes, but you could buy some tobacco to put in it and light it up and smoke it. And I did that on a couple of occasions. It's very nice. But these were right out on the street, and presumably they were mostly Muslims. I think there were a few Coptic Christians, but the impression I have of Islamic countries is that they have about as many smokers as anywhere else. So I don't think it can be. I wrote about it, wondering at one point whether the Islamic Spring might have been a consequence of smoking bans because they had I think it was in Tunisia it started off, and they brought in a smoking ban, and within a year the government had been overthrown, and I had a chap called Chauchi, I think it was, who took a little bit of interest in my thoughts on that. He was a sort of expert on Islam. And
I would presume Islam is much like anything else. Like the general population of England, there are the zealots, ISIS, for instance, that kill people for smoking. Like the anti-smokers in the UK, they want to ostracize them and make them miserable. They'd probably kill them if they could, but the culture is against it. And then there's a vast majority of people that don't care one way or the other. People smoke, they never pay any attention.
yeah,
I mean, just over the years, I can only remember pre-ban time, a handful of people that have making idiots of themselves in restaurants or taverns.
well, I don't remember. I'm 69 years old, so I'm a youth by comparison with you and Junicam. But I never came across any anti-smokers for the first more or less 20 years of my life until I lived in the house of the doctor that I quite often write about, Dr. W.
Mm-hmm.
He was the very first anti-smoker I ever met, and he was quite, but his antipathy to smoking was at a sort of gut level. It wasn't rational, and the encounter with him was what started me smoking, because I thought, well, this guy is a bit of a nutter, so and he's a doctor and he's quite a senior doctor, They must all be like that, and they're all deranged. So there's probably nothing wrong with smoking. So I took up, so I took up smoking a couple of years after I met him. Uh, uh, it's an example of anti-smokers shooting themselves in the foot, because I hadn't considered it before. Although my father was a smoker and my mother was an occasional smoker, and my brother smoked for a while as well. But he was the first. He was the first, and then there was another one, and then there was another one, and until finally, most of the people I knew had banned smoking in their own homes, and I ceased to know them. I used to have a very wide circle of friends. We got along with all of them, the ones who smoked and the ones who didn't. And even for quite a long time, the ones who were anti-smoking. We still got along. But it's very strange, because I suppose, as I've written quite often, Dr. W sort of inoculated me against anti-smoking. And I've never believed anything they've said. I think the whole thing is junk.
Well, there are individuals, I guess, that think that smoking bothers them. You say, well, if you don't mind, your cigarette smoke bothers you. Well, okay, politeness. But those people are few and far between. As I said, most people just didn't give a damn.
Yeah.
Until nowadays, they can bully people, and they like bullying people. It's an inbred thing, I guess, inborn.
Well, none of the anti-smokers that I knew were particularly bullying. They didn't even say, that they disapproved of me smoking. They just said, they'd banned smoking, and they kind of seemed to think that it was something that didn't matter. But it did to me.
Well, it doesn't matter to them, of course.
No, it doesn't.
Consider that other people have feelings and likes and desires. Maybe that's part of it. The world has become a more selfish place. Politicians are absorbed in getting reelected.
Are they?
So it doesn't.
Are they?
They sure spend a lot of money at it, and they spend a lot of time trying to get reelected.
Well, it looks at the moment like we've got an election in a month's time, and it's looking right now like I won't be voting for anyone. I'm going to be one of your non-voters for the first time in my life, because UKIP, according to Pat Nurse, is stopping advocating having smoking rooms in pubs. So who's there to vote for? Nobody, as far as I can see.
Well, Nigel Farage is not even a leader in UKIP anymore.
Well, that's probably the reason, because he was a sort of in-your-face smoker and drinker, and I think he was probably the force behind UKIP's smoking room idea. Now that he's gone, it would seem that the smoking rooms have gone with him.
How did that, if you know? Now, Nigel did not get elected as an MP in his own constituency. He got beat by somebody else. But why could he not still be a force in the party, even though he's not an elected official?
Well, he's an elected MEP, he's a member of the European Parliament. He still is at the moment. So he still speaks in the European Parliament in Brussels. Because what the British have been doing for the last 20 years or so has been to, in internal politics of Britain, we've been voting for Labour or Conservative or Lib Dem or something like that. But when it comes to Europe, lots of people voted UKIP. It's the sort of two fingers at it's Europe.
Well, how many MEPs are there from the United Kingdom to Brussels?
I'm not sure straight off. I think there's something like 20 or something like that. But a disproportionate number of them are UKIP. Nigel Farage is just one of them. And there's several others. But there's quite a few Conservatives as well. I don't know. I ought to know what the number of you. Well, it doesn't really matter because we're leaving now. At least I hope.
Yeah.
I hope we're leaving. I still don't really trust to